How many hearts have you broken with those great big beautiful eyes? Those great big beautiful eyes that tell such beautiful lies.
How many times have you kissed somebody like you kissed me then? I don't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important message from the Prepared Mind Network.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Welcome back, folks. I hope you're live with us here. If you're on YouTube, you're not live. Not today. If you want to be live, you got to go to subscribestar.com because, folks, live means you can participate. So go to the club, go to subscribestar.com, sign up. And you can be here every day talking live. This is going to be I think it's going to be a dark broadcast. Now, you can participate and lighten it up with your questions if you're live or continue down this dark road. But it is a mainstream media smackdown. That's what's happening right now. Mainstream media smackdown. I've been thinking long and hard, and it reminded me of something that happened a long time ago. You know, the question I keep asking and everyone's asking is, why take down Tucker? He's just going to go somewhere else. Well, if he goes and let's just say, and one of the rumors was he's going to go and hang out with Alex Jones. Well, he's going to be considered an instant conspiracy freak. Everyone's going to see he's part of that crowd. The crowd that denied Handy Sook. Oh, yeah, he's a bad, evil man. Yeah, he was masquerading as a real journalist, but now we know he's just some kind of right-wing, white supremacist Nazi hack, right? But I thought, why would Fox take off their number one prime time moneymaker? Well, years ago, we said they canceled huge YouTube channels. They were canceling everyone they could, and they were taking huge losses in ad revenue for it. And they didn't care. They kept going. We managed to survive that and stay on here. They stagnated our growth, stagnated it. Right? They've hurt us as much as they can, and they will be taking us off the air here on YouTube. I just have a feeling. Got another video removed today. Another one on the BC channel. So they don't care that they were losing money, huge money, billions of dollars in ad revenue that they would have had today if they didn't take all of those wacky right-wing guys off there. You see, we figured it out, though, way back then, that their agenda was way more important than money. And folks, you and I, patriots, we need to learn that too. Our agenda, freedom, our agenda, personal liberty, needs to be considered way more important than money. Because if you don't have freedom, the money you have is going to be worthless. It will disappear. It will evaporate like steam from a tea kettle. Now, patriots do need to learn that our agenda, freedom, is more important than money. And we need to stand up and fight. Fight on, patriots. Prep to action. Either way, you're going to pay. You pay now or you're going to pay later. And you may as well stand up and fight and pay now. Right? Can you imagine someone who has guns being told, well, you better start using them now or you're going to lose it? Right? You're going to lose. Well, they go like, no, I'm not going to fight yet. And I'm not recommending violence, folks. It's just an example. They come and take the guns. And then the tyranny really begins. People are going to go, man, I sure wish I had my gun, but I lost it. You're going to pay. They're going to take everything they can. So Fox took down Tucker. And it's hurting Fox, folks. Huge, big time. Millions of dollars. Fox, folks, and all of Wall Street didn't care that they're losing billions. Because, well, for the most part, that money just gets transferred from, well, Fox over to the other stocks that they're holding. But Fox channel, it is going to lose. It may even go down, who knows? But agenda is way, way, way more important than money, folks. It's way more important than money. Now, what they did, I think, should be illegal. The move hurt the value of the stock. The move hurt the stockholders as a result. And those who made that decision to get rid of Tucker, they knew it was going to hurt the channel. It was going to hurt the network. They knew it. They intentionally hurt shareholders. And folks, I think that's a violation of fiduciary trust. But they don't care. The bankers and the power brokers say, fuck Tucker. So fuck Fox. And they say those things so that they can fuck America. That's their goal. That's their agenda. Get it yet? If they can arrest Trump, they can arrest me and you. If they can cancel Tucker, they can cancel me and you. The same way YouTube canceled everyone they could. And they'll come after me. They're already after me. They can cancel me. This is what they're about, silencing opposition. So nobody can argue against them. Arrest, folks. If they can arrest Trump, they can arrest you and me. And if they arrest you, will you ever see the light of day again? You think so? Ask the protesters from January 6th how they feel, because they're literally rotting in DC prison. They're literally rotting in prison. Their lives are ruined. They're rotting for years and years, possibly the rest of their lives, because they didn't fight back. They protested and they allowed themselves to be arrested. When they came knocking on the door, they're like, "What's up there, Fibby?" He's like, "Well, we've got some questions for you. We're going to need to arrest you." And they're like, "Well, I'm a peaceful, patriotic American. I think I'll just come with you." And they come with them and they find out that doing nothing actually has a death penalty. That's right. Being a Republican is the death penalty. If they can't capture you now, put you on a train in shackles, and take you to a concentration camp, which is what they say they want to do, to kill us, then they'll fabricate a reason. You bet. I won't allow myself to be arrested. Kaz and I had a little black pill discussion this morning. I'm not going to allow myself to be arrested, folks. I would be demonized in the media. Lies would come from the FBI and from Merrick Garland. That's right, Merrick Garland, who I'm now calling Gollum, the Attorney General. He looks like a little Gollum. He would lie. The FBI would lie. So I may as well resist like it would be my last free act as a living man. Now, YouTube wants to kill us. Mainstream media wants to kill us. They want to take us off and silence us, and they actually do want to kill us. To resist evil, folks, to resist a tyrant's evil guards. Yes, to die like a man fighting for what is his, right? His life, rather than taking a knee to evil and sucking off its teats. That's what every sellout is going to do. They're going to suck bugs and sludge and whatever junk the government wants to feed them if they keep getting their way. We need to fight back. Prep to action. Understand where we're at. They have assassinated mainstream media. They're assassinating social media. They're castrating the First Amendment. They're imprisoning the First Amendment. They want the second, folks, but they're going to take the first. They want to make us deaf. They want to make us dumb by taking away our information. This is where we're at. And they're showing us if they can arrest Trump, they can arrest any of us for anything. What was he arrested for? Possessing documents that were unclassified. They're suing him for having business dealings with a prostitute. Not a prostitute, a porn star. It's Hunter Biden who has prostitutes. Right? This is where we're at. This is what's going on. It is a SmackDown extraordinaire. The mainstream media is willing to sacrifice its value. It knows no one wants to watch it, but they can't have freedom out there, folks. Hell no. We can't have that. This is the Prepared Mind channel, folks. Get to that button and click it, subscribe. Thumbs up. Share the internet address with others. They need to wake the hell up. I mean, get this. This was interesting. Now, Sky News in Australia says, quote, Tucker Carlson was fired by Lachlan Murdoch for discussing secret U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. That's interesting. More biolab action. Right? What's popping out now? Well, biolabs in the Sudan. Why are there biolabs in Sudan and Ukraine? Well, a lot of people have their pet theories on why Tucker was fired. It was because he was, right, discussing, talking, reporting. He was not reading their catchphrases. He wasn't reading their little sound bites. He wasn't playing along with their little left-wing anti-American agenda. Consequently, they just decided finally it's just time to get rid of him. So there is no voice of reason. There's no search for reason. There is no search for fact. There's no finding the truth anymore with mainstream media. It is all propaganda, literally. That's why they'll kill this channel, because it doesn't suit the propagandists. They'll kill all of us, folks, because we don't obey them. Do you see it? Look back. Look back to the 1930s Germany. People go, how could the German people have allowed to happen what happened? Well, Hitler came to power. He became Chancellor of Germany, like the president. Then Congress burned down. It was called the Reichstag fire, literally burned. So they said, I guess we don't need that. And they started passing executive orders, folks. They ruled. The Führer, the Hitler, ruled by executive order. You know, emergency edicts, kind of like Biden was trying to run this country by. Oh, they want to, folks. There's one thing we have, and you better understand this and take it to frickin' heart. You have the Second Amendment. You have the right. You have rights, not only to protect yourself, but to speak. You have rights, folks. People of Germany didn't have rights. They had privileges, and they were taken and abused. We can only have our rights taken if we allow them to take our rights. Get ready, folks. It is getting nasty. I never dreamed I would be saying these words. Never. Never have I thought this would happen. Unbelievable. I hope you got your questions and you got them in. I really do. Now, I said the mainstream media has taken a smackdown, right? Well, Jose Vega decided he was going to give some smackdown to the mainstream media. And this was really important. I wish I had this opportunity. It is a dream smackdown on the media. He showed up, folks, and he addressed the leaders of mainstream media to hear a lecture. And he said, is this the lecture hall with Seymour Hersh? Seymour Hersh, again, is the one who came out and said, hey, look, we've got it on good authority that the United States government and Joe Biden did the Nord Stream bomb terror attack. So he says, is this the lecture hall with Seymour Hersh? I'm looking for the one with Seymour Hersh because it's a policy and press hall event. So shouldn't we be talking about the Nord Stream since it's the biggest story of the century? And you guys, and he's pointing to the executives from all the mainstream media. He says, you guys have the executive editor of the New York Times there who came out with a phony story to try and block Seymour Hersh. It's just kind of funny how that happened, you know. I mean, did you even acknowledge Seymour Hersh? All of you are executive editors of papers that broke the Pentagon Papers, My Lai, Watergate. Are these the same papers or not? I mean, is there anything you've gotten right in the last 20 years? Or am I mistaken about that? I mean, it's just kind of funny because Iraq, wrong. And he's talking about the media and their take on things. Iraq, wrong. Syria, wrong. Russiagate, really wrong. Okay? I mean, the list just goes on and on. So the last thing you could do to try and actually fix your reputation is acknowledge that through leaks, we had to find out that Zelensky was going to bomb Moscow on the anniversary of the war. I mean, if you're so impartial, shouldn't you at least say that Zelensky was going to bring us on the verge of World War III? And these editors all just sat there, folks, in this huge hall, in this huge convention. They just sat there, dumb-faced and silent, in shame. Did you know that Zelensky wanted to bomb Moscow on the eve or the day of the anniversary? Can you fucking believe that? These people don't say shit in the mainstream media. I would love, folks, to have the mainstream media right in front of me so I can ask them some questions and put together a nice little speech. But I'll tell you what, folks, if you give the media or a politician the opportunity to respond and lie, they will. And if you get them so hard the way Jose did, if you nail them so hard, they'll sit there dumbfounded and will not respond, as if they're not even in the fucking room. And that's how history will record it. There's a guy read and said all these words, but no one had anything to say in response, as if the room was fucking empty. Are you ready for what's coming, folks? Now, remember when the banks were failing? Was it Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank? They took an absolute shit. And a couple weeks later, what happened? Credit Suisse took a shit. And they're like, oh, we've got everything fixed now. Well, guess what? First Republic Bank, who has been in trouble and came close, well, guess what? Trading had to be halted there because prices plunged. People were selling the shit out of it. Is the government going to bail them out? Right, folks, the banks right now are teetering on the edge of the precipice of collapse. And it's not just First Republic. The big banks, folks, the big banks, even they are precariously close. They can let all the little ones fall by the wayside and say, big government, help them out or don't. If you would like, we, the giant banks, the Goldman Sachs, the Morgan Stanleys, the Bank of America, the Wells Fargo, will pick up the pieces, but you're going to have to help us out because that's a heavy load. So the government won't bail out those banks, but the government will give those banks assets to the big banks and then bail out the big banks to help cover the losses. Wealth transfer. Have we on this channel, or have we not, been talking about this SHTF, which started, folks, in 2019? I said, that's it, right? The banks have failed. September of 2019. Then I said, that's it. Shit has hit the fan with Cerveza when they tried and failed miserably and had to go into their emergency plans of locking the world down and blaming everything on a bug, right? And then having the government bail everyone out while they sat in their homes biting their, well, fingernails and worrying to death about grandma keeling over from the frickin' common cold. Now, yeah, those banks, folks, they propped them up, they propped them up, they propped them up, and they're like, okay, we're done propping them up. It's now time to start letting them fall. And here we are, right? They're raising interest rates, and now they're going to come back down. Come back down. Are you prepared for what's coming? Do you know what's going to happen next? Do you know where you're going to go? I sure hope you have some ideas. Crazy, folks. Crazy. Do you expect justice out of the government? I don't think so. The justice system, do you think it's there for Trump? You have these wacko lunatic jurors, and you have wacko lunatic jurists, the district attorneys out there, ready to kill him. Now, Chief Turd Justice Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court, he has declined to testify before Congress about ethics on the Supreme Court. He had an opportunity to go before them and straighten Congress out. Instead, he backs away and allows Democrats to continue harassing Clarence Thomas. There are no ethics. There's no ethics. There's no morality in Washington, D.C. It is a literal cesspool of perversion and scum. Look what's going on, folks. And remember, Justice Roberts was the guy who said the Obamacare mandate that you buy insurance was not an illegal law forcing you to commercially consume a product that you didn't think was in your best interest, but rather ruled that it was a tax because there was a penalty if you didn't obey the government. That's compulsory mandamus. It is not a tax. It is a penalty ascribed to a compulsory mandate. Nothing in the Constitution allows for that. They're a bunch of fucking liars, from the Supreme Court to Congress to the White House to the bureaucracy. Know it, folks. If you're arrested, you're not coming out of the hole. Period. Period. Now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, folks. She was jumping up and down. She is gleeful. She is celebrating that Tucker Carlson got fired. And she said, quote, deplatforming works and it is important. Folks, deplatforming is code for killing the First Amendment and our voices. Deplatforming. What if someone deplatformed AOC? Would she like it? Now, in Montana, the legislature there decided to deplatform a fruitcake who decided to say that Republicans will have blood on their hands for passing a law to protect children from sterilizing themselves at the behest of federal big government and the LGBTQ types. They said, you're not allowed to speak again until you apologize for your rhetoric that violated the decorum. And what happened? The left wing lost its shit. Even the Montana fruitcake showed up and got arrested, violating rules of the People's House, the Congress up there. There's no deplatforming them. Oh, they won't have that. In fact, one of the fruitcakes last week decided they would come out and say, hey, look, you even tried telling me I can't use a women's restroom. And it'll be the last thing you do. Folks, they're coming for us. They want to deplatform you. They want to silence you. They want to arrest you, and they want you to make like a magician and just disappear in a cloud of smoke. That's what they want. Get your questions down below. Get them down, folks. There is a huge smackdown in this country. They can't have freedom. They can't have liberty. They can't have a First Amendment. Years ago, when that scowling bitch, Hillary Clinton, said, there's limits to the First Amendment, did you think it would get this far? I didn't. When they started burning and looting and murdering, I thought there's no way that every city and every state is going to continue to allow this shit to happen and keep happening and continue to happen night after night, week after week, month after month. But it did. And the media excused it and the politicians encouraged it. And the people sat by as these fruitcakes got away with literal murder, arson, and looting. They want to deplatform us while they do that. Remember, AOC as an elected person violated the trust of the people by pretending like she was sobbing over little children as she wore her white clothes and stood at a chain link fence, which didn't have any children on the other side of it. In fact, there was nothing on the other side of it. It was all a photo op bullshit. She lied to her followers. She lied to the media. As a Twitter person, she's part of the media. She lied all of the way from one end to the other. She should be deplatformed for pretending to be something she's not, which is a caring, actual, empathetic, sympathetic human being. She's not. I would say that she is not. She is not a wholesome, good American. She is a spokesperson for socialism, right? And I think she's won several contests eating apples through picket fence without using her hands. Telling you, folks. I am authorized to carry a firearm with me concealed anywhere I want. Anywhere, anytime. And I do. Because I'm not going to be taken down by these fruitcakes. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to allow it. Right? These people that allow themselves to be arrested, they do so at their own peril. Right? Let me show you how far government has gone. And I'm going to end on this, and then we're going to start taking your questions. Uman, Jolene, get ready. Do you remember when the European Union was started? All the countries of Europe said, we don't want to surrender our sovereignty. And the European Union proponents, people who wanted it, said, you don't lose your sovereignty. No, you retain your sovereignty. It's just a financial and economic union. It's just a union so that we have a uniform currency for all of Europe. Right? The European Union was supposed to be an economic union. And then some countries said, you know what, this ain't working so fucking good for us. We want out. And so Brexit took how many years? Was it 3? Was it 4? Was it 5 years, 6 years before they finally completed it after vote after vote after vote after vote after vote after vote of the people to get the fuck out of it? Well, if they're a sovereign nation, they should have been able to take one vote and turn the finger on the European Union and say, we're done. Go fuck yourselves. Well, it was supposed to be economic, folks. But let's take a look how government, any government organization, assumes authority, ownership, and control. The European Union, folks, is now warning Hungary's foreign minister. It wants war, and it doesn't want anyone to speak up against the war in Ukraine. Hungary is tired of it. It is a threat. It is dangerous. It is costly. But the European Union is now threatening Hungary. Right? Oh, you don't want the war. We're going to punish you. I thought this was an economic union designed and intended to create a uniform currency so that the entire continent of Europe could get along and have prosperity. No, folks, it was an effort to create not only a single currency, but to create control over the people and control over the governments and control over the sovereignty. That's exactly what the whole thing was about. And look where we're at now. The European Union is acting like the United States federal government and assuming control over all the states, telling them how they have to allow illegal immigration or they'll be punished. They've weaponized the euro. They've weaponized the European Union. The same way the United States has weaponized the US dollar and its control over the entire world, which is now rebelling and rejecting against it. Oh yeah, folks. Shit is hitting the fan everywhere. And these freaking arrogant pricks in DC and in Europe just don't want to give up. Let me tell you how systemic the problem is. Let me give you an example of human nature. Let's not talk about the European Union and the United States government. Let's go all the way down to the lowest form of government, not the national government, not the state governments here, not even the county or the city. Look at the HOA, the Homeowners Association, the smallest, weakest, tiniest version of government that exists. They want to tell you what to do with your property, or they'll punish you. They'll tell you how you can do things. And if you don't agree, they'll fine you. If you park your car in a way that they deem illegal, many HOAs can have you towed away. They can steal your property because you disobeyed them. These little fucking nobodies in an HOA, folks, have given themselves incredible power. And other government functions or functionaries like the courts have agreed that they have this kind of power. Well, you signed the dotted line. You agreed to play by their rules. People don't think they're actually doing all that. The same way they don't think they're signing their fucking lives away by buying and using US dollars. Well, you're letting yourself be controlled. They're coming after us all. We're going to get a smackdown until people wake the fuck up. Are you prepared? Are you prepared? I know that many of you are glad to be preppers. And for those who are just now tuning in, you've come to the show late. That doesn't mean it's too late for you, but you are going to get a wake-up call like you can't believe as you learn more and more. And we're getting more and more people again signing up at thepreparedmind.club and at subscribestar.com. Either or, $2 a month. Subscribestar.com. Go to the Prepared Mind there. Or go to thepreparedmind.club and sign up. $2 a month. Supports real free speech. Look what's going on, folks. I don't have to tell you about the Jim Jones juice. I don't have to tell you about Cerveza bug. It's out there. We've talked about it. That's why they're trying to cancel me. That's the excuse they're using. It's not a fucking emergency anymore. The president, even Biden, has run away from it. The little shit stain Justin Trudeau in Canada is denying he ever forced anyone to do anything. But YouTube still wants to be little Hitlers about it. And so they will, because they need an excuse, a reason to take this channel down. How dare you harass fruitcakes? I mean, how dare you harass, right? Repeatedly. Ooh, you repeatedly made fun of someone. Bad John, we're going to give you a strike. This is all they care about. Control. No fruitcake watches this channel. No fruitcake watches this channel and believes it. No fruitcake watches this channel, believes it, and takes it to heart. And no fruitcake watches this channel, believes it, takes it to heart, and then shares with their friends. In other words, there's no value to me to have fruitcakes give a shit. And there's no value to them because they don't believe a word I have to say anyways. That's why they're not here. It's just us Americans. So it's not about protecting the fruitcakes who really don't give a rat's ass what I have to say. It's about making you deaf so that you can't hear me or anyone else. That is their effort. It's not about taking my free speech. It's about making you deaf and dumb. That's right. That's the old expression, deaf and dumb. Because, well, if you're deaf, you can't hear words, and therefore you are dumb. You don't have information. You can't make decisions. You can't compare apples to apples or oranges to oranges or apples to oranges for that matter. Folks, it's on. It is absolutely on. Are you prepared? It is now your turn. Let's do it. It is time for the inner circle. And we're back. Let's see. I'm sure you guys want to talk about something. Something has to be on your mind. Where do we want to go first? Who wants to step on up? And Mikey G has this, a very simple question. EU Army, European Union Army. Oh, they have wanted that. They've wanted it desperately. Desperately, they've wanted to have command of an army. Can you imagine a bunch of unelected, self-involved and self-important bullshit artists in the European Union? Unelected. I said that and I meant it. They're unelected. They would love to have a military force that they can send out there to harass their own states. They won't have enough money or enough power to go and harass the rest of the world the way the United States has threatened the rest of the world. But they can certainly go from country to country in Europe and threaten and harass. European Union Army, what would they do with that? Well, they may take it to Ukraine. In fact, how many rumors do we have to hear that American forces are on the ground in Ukraine and assisting the Ukraine military, trying to help them achieve military victories? European Union Army, you bet they would love that, because then they can go to every country and knock on the gates and say, we're here. We're here. They would use, shall we say, Danish troops to harass a bunch of Spaniards, and they would use Spanish troops and move them over to Hungary, and they would use Czech troops to harass the Danes. Why wouldn't they? Doesn't that make the most sense? Because people are always willing to violate the rights of others that they may not agree with on some principle or some prejudice. Europe is fucked, folks. Their economy is screwed. Their currency is shit. Their banking system is failing. You bet. They've allowed an invasion of their nations with the scum of the world who have fled their North African and Middle Eastern countries so that they can take over Europe. Sounds very similar to using those same peoples along with Central American and South Americans to invade our country. By the time Joe Biden is done with his folks, with his 4 years, he will have invited in, through his lack of obeying his oath, 8 million illegals. Approximately 250,000 a month, thereabouts. Whew. I tell you, folks, here we are. Are you prepared for what's coming? Okay, let's step up. Let's do another big question. It's Uman, and he wants to step into the Rupert Murdoch, Fox News, Tucker world. And he says, I heard one theory today that said Murdoch fired him because his fiancée told folks at a party that listening to Tucker was like listening to Jesus speak. Yeah, he canned his fiancée too. Uman says, I just love all the crazy theories everyone comes up with based on super secret squirrel insiders that cannot be named information. That's right. I mean, Tucker has done an awful lot of things to break the rules. He talked about Hunter Biden and his laptop. He talked about the biolabs. He talked about the corruption. He talked about the FBI. He talked about the CIA. He talked about the Attorney General. He talked about everything. Maybe not to the extent that I wanted him to talk about stuff, but he did a pretty darn good job for mainstream media. Of course, everything had to get by the internal and external censors to make it on the air, but he made it, and they didn't like that. You can't talk about that, Tucker, unless you have more sources. So he gets more sources, and they're like, dang. Okay. Pretty good journalist, I would say, if he made it through all of those censors. Ultimately, it comes down to, let's fire him. That's it. That's their last move. Fire him. And so they did. Why should they keep Tucker around? What good is Tucker doing them apart from making them money? They have all the money they want. Remember that. The banks have the money. The uber rich, they have the money. They couldn't give a shit if they lose 0.01% because they gain 100% control over the media. Imagine that. Imagine having 100% control over the media. What you could do with that kind of power. They can make up news, folks, which means they can lie to the public and make it look like it's 100% true. No one to respond, no one to argue, no one to deny it, no one to be on your side. But they don't care. They don't care. They'll take Fox all the way down to nothing. You think Rupert Murdoch really needs Fox? I mean, I've heard about Rupert Murdoch for 25 years. He was old back then. The guy has got to be a fossil and a half now. What does he care if he loses a couple $100 million when you're a billionaire? What does he care? He can't spend it fast enough. He could buy a new Rolls Royce or Bentley every single day and it wouldn't make a dent. It wouldn't make a dent. Can you imagine having that kind of money where the interest alone that you make in your high yield government accounts where they're guaranteed to make money, whereas you and I know we're not guaranteed anything. Anyways, the interest alone that he makes on his money pays for a lavish lifestyle that could support a small American city. They can't spend it fast enough. So what do they want? They want something that money can't buy. Money can buy cars. It can buy boats. Money can buy planes. Money can buy prostitutes. Money can buy drugs. What do they want, folks? Well, prostitutes are illegal, but they'll call them escorts. No, they don't want things they can buy anymore because they can buy everything. They already have it. You want an island? They got an island. You want a pristine home out in the wilderness where no one else is? They got it. You know what they want? They want stuff that they can't buy. They want things that are illegal. They want things that no one has ever had before, like owning a fucking country's government. Why do you think Jeffrey Epstein was so beloved by all these super rich people? Because he got them things that they wanted and they weren't allowed to have legally. That's right, children. They want everything they can't have. They've got the cars, the yachts, the boats, the homes, all that stuff. They buy all the companies they want, no problem. What they really want is stuff they can't have. They want to own a politician. They want to own their nutsacks. So they find a way to get them. Legal or illegal, what the fuck do they care? Look at all the illegality that Biden does. No problem. Oh, there's an investigation there. Go ahead and hold your breath. We'll get back to you in a while. In the meantime, we're going to arrest a former president. In the meantime, we're going to fire the nation's #1 news reporter. They own the Supreme Court. Just watch, folks. Germany has a Supreme Court. That didn't stop Hitler. Germany had a Congress. They burned it down. Germany used its youths and then it used its militant police to destroy that country and make it into one of the most horrifying political and military machines in all of the world. And still, folks, as much as everyone fears and hates Hitler and the Nazis, he was an amateur compared to the hardcore socialist communists in the Soviet Union and China. Combined, over 100 million people were killed by the government directly, intentionally, on purpose to maintain control. But what do I know? All right, let's move on. Back to what you guys want to talk about, not so much what I want to talk about. Ooh, man, Jolene, who? It is Michael Brown. And he says, John, thanks for recommendation of the 45 app. Great round, softer than I thought it would be. The 454 is like riding a dinosaur, laughing my ass off. The 454 Casul is one hell of a round. And you're welcome, my friend. I'm glad you like the 45. It's mine. When you know, it's got a nice, it's a good round. It just is. I think it's important. And what we're talking about, folks, right now is self-defense tools. Self-defense tools. The 454, right? Find a weapon that fits your hand or it fits into your shoulder. Find something that is comfortable to shoot that doesn't scare you. And understand that when you shoot the target quits being a threat. You know, it's very important to find what works for you, what fits your hand, what's comfortable to shoot. Nobody likes getting hit with anything, folks, not even a BB out of a BB gun. So there it is, man. I'm glad you like it, Michael. I love the 45. I love the 357. My wheel guns are 357s. I love my 686 with a 6-inch barrel. It's got a very nice trigger on it. And these silhouette sights allow me to preset it for great ranges. It's a very accurate, nasty weapon. Folks, I got a message today, and I got it from Frank. I hope you're doing well, Frank. Frank is another brother of another color up north. And I'll tell you what, he said, these freaks are getting out of hand. And I'm paraphrasing. These freaks are getting out of hand, and they're becoming militant. That's pretty scary. Yeah, it is scary, folks. The people on the left, we just want our Second Amendment to protect ourselves in the event people become dangerous to us and start coming at us. We aren't lovers of the Second Amendment, so we can take our guns and go out and harm people. But if you look at it, that is precisely why the left want their weapons. Look who's buying them, these fruitcakes. And then they're posing in them with pictures and sending threatening pictures out into the internet. Try and stop me from going in a girl's bathroom, and it'll be the last thing you do. Yeah, pretty womanly. You bet. Anyways, I love the 45. Some people like the 40. Some people like the 9. Get some self-defense, folks. These people are dangerous, and they mean it. And when you start hearing the pop, 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 pop down the street, if you've ever been in that situation, it's rather unnerving, to say the least. You want to know what's worse is when you start hearing bullets hit the house that you're in or the structure that you're in. You hear them whiz overhead. Makes you think real fast, real hard. What am I doing here? How am I going to get out of this? I think that's a thought a lot of people have shared over the last few centuries. You can hear them. All right, man, what do we got next? We got Orlando, and he's got a statement for us all. He says, I hear angry fans of Tucker Carlson are following him out the door and canceling their Fox subscriptions. Doing that was the biggest mistake they ever made. I'll tell you what, in a way, you're absolutely correct. And in a way, you're wrong. Now, the wrong part, and I'll start with that, is that they don't care that it was a big mistake. Yeah, it was the biggest mistake for another reason, and we'll get into that. And so you're right and you're wrong. Or I should say it's a mistake they made, and they just don't give a fuck. They don't call it a mistake. They call it a tactical move, a tactical sacrifice. Because, right, the biggest mistake they made was to piss off the American people. There's their mistake. People are canceling their Fox subscriptions. They're turning off Fox News, which means no advertising revenue. No advertising revenue at all. But they pissed off Americans. Think about it. I mean, think about it. Like Budweiser, right? Bud is going down, 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 down. Still, they have suffered staggering losses. And they continue to keep going down, meaning more and more people are refusing to drink it. The media, I think, is going to see the same thing, Orlando, and they have seen it for the last 20 years. They've been going down, 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 down. And with Trump, they went way down. The only thing that held up the media was the fact that they were talking about Trump. But their mistake is waking you and I up. Yeah, they're willing to sacrifice the money, but they've woken up more patriotic Americans who are like, why did they fire him? We like that guy. That guy actually gave us something valuable, right? That's what watching the news is supposed to be about. I spend my time and I get something back. They put on advertising that pays them and I get the news. So there's a reason for me to sit in front of the advertisement that pays their bills. Gone. Gone. Big mistake. That's the reason for the big mistake. So you're right. But the big mistake wasn't the money, because they don't give a fuck about the money. What they care about is what you and I think. And rather than make us go, well, if we can't get Tucker, I guess we're just going to go watch Brian Setzer. Whoops, he's fired. Don Lemon. Whoops, he's been fired. Who else is there to watch? Not many. So, I mean, where do people get their news? Who's out there that we used to like to listen to? Glenn Beck? Paquito Small. He's got his own little social media stuff. Hey, how about that other guy from Fox News? Remember him? Remember him? Does anyone even remember his name? Bill O'Reilly. He's got his little social media, but he got kicked off of Fox. Right? Oh, it's sexual this and sexual that. Don't worry, though. He's a Republican. They'll take care of that and get rid of him. Well, they're out there, folks. These huge names are out here struggling to get a share of the audience on the internet, the way you and I try and get a share of this audience and get people into it so they can become interested in what's happening, so they can be prepared and they can make decisions that better America. So Bill O'Reilly, pew. Alex Jones, pew. Remember when they fired Alex Jones? They didn't care that they were losing millions of dollars in ad revenue on Alex Jones alone. Pew. Get rid of him. And little nerdy Tucker. I remember when Tucker first went to work on the big media stations, wearing a cute little bow tie. Now he's number one. I would have never guessed, folks, 20 plus years ago that Tucker Carlson would be the number one most trusted news dude. Gone. Are you ready for what's coming? Are you prepared? Do we have some more out there? Do we have some more cuestiones? Who has the cojones with their cuestiones? And I bet Charles Gentry does. Anyways, Orlando, back to yours. Yeah, huge mistake, man. Biggest mistake was pissing us off. Couldn't care less about the money, right? Charles Gentry says it's not over till the last one standing declares it's over. Until then, it's not over. Or we pull our collective heads out of wherever and stand up as one people, Americans. I tell you what, Charles, we're a ways away from that. You are correct. We will stand as one America, or an America group. And we're going to stand against an enemy that is bigger, louder, stronger, and evil. The same way Americans stood up against England, the Redcoats, the Imperial British Navy. They stood up against it, folks. Can you imagine that someone like John Paul Jones would get in his wooden ship, and sail out into the frickin' Atlantic Ocean and sail at British ships and start shooting cannons at them, and got his ass sunk? Got his ass kicked, folks. What did he do? Fucking hung on to some driftwood, got back to shore, and said, I have yet begun to fight. In other words, he got kicked, folks. He got kicked down. He got sank. He got kicked in the ding-ding. But he didn't give up, right? So, last one standing, knock me down, I'll get back up. But see, most people, they won't even get up in the first place. So we are a very small group of Americans. But we are still scattered. We do need to come together as one. And that is actually happening right now. It is a process. It's very slow. And in the meantime, people will be hurt. People will have their rights violated. People will be murdered by government. People will have their rights swiped, their guns swiped. We're having everything happen right now. What are they trying to do? They're trying to show that it's not government doing it. That's what they're trying to show. You see, it's the banks that are messing with your money, and they want to do their central bank digital currency and tell you where you can and can't shop, and what food you can and can't buy, and what trips you can and can't take, and oh, you can't shop there, but you can shop over here. They want to do that. But that's the banks. That's not government. Bullshit. It's the fucking government. Over here, they want to tell you what you can and you can't say, and who you can and you can't listen to. And they want you to believe what they say and not anyone else. That's the media. That's not the government. That's mainstream media or big tech or social media. No, that's the government. We have it, folks. There's already emails galore that the government has been working with private corporations and banks to control us. It doesn't matter who does the control because it suits the controllers, all of them. Once you control someone's movement, you can control their money. If you can control their money, you can control their movement. If you control their money, you can control what they say. If you control what they say, you can control their money, their movement, everything. That's what these bastards are up to. So they're going to continue to oppress, oppress, oppress. And trust me, the oppression is not occurring to you if you're black, because the oppressors are white. If you're Mexican, if you're Cuban, if you're San Salvadorian, they're not oppressing your brownness because they're white. They're oppressing you, all of you, and all of us white people because they want to control us and hold us down. It has nothing to do with color. That's an excuse to get you of the color fighting with us of the whiteness as if we are doing something. It's fucking ridiculous. But it works because the ignorance of most. The ignorance of most. That's what we've got going on. I want to thank, by the way, Mr. T for getting me some more great great intros, outros, and transition stuff. Thank you again, Mr. T. Don't want to forget you. I never forget you, man. But folks, we've got some battles going on. Jolene, let's end the show with one more good one. We got Sally Sue says reset, wealth transfer, recession, depression. I'm not sure it matters which of these actually about to happen, maybe all, since we are barely making it as it is. What is the little person to do here? Okay. I'm going to use chess as our example. On the chessboard, you have the king, the queen, very powerful pieces in their own way. You have bishops, knights, and rooks, right? These powerful pieces. And then you have pawns, lots of pawns. Pawns are seemingly powerless. Pawns are seemingly of little value. But in the real world, you and I are the pawns, where we have no value. We're used by others to accomplish their goals. We're used to put pressure on others, other pieces on the board. We're used and sacrificed. That's what pawns get. But folks, you're only useful that way if you allow them to make you move where they want. If you get in their way and allow them to sacrifice you, you'll be sacrificed. If they allow you to put pressure on someone else, they'll use you to put pressure on them, right? In other words, you move the pawn up and it, say, threatens the bishop, the rook, or the knight. The bishop, rook, or knight can either take the pawn, which is a sacrifice, or move elsewhere, and that's the pressure move. But see, the pawn, folks, if you're not being forced, if you're free mentally, and you have free movement and free decision making and free thinking and freedom of voice, that is to say free speech, then you can move where you want on the board and you become your own master and you are powerful. Remember, the pawn can take any piece on the chessboard, any piece, including the most powerful. including all the pieces. No matter how powerful, the pawn can take them. That's right. You and I have the power to remove kings and queens. We do. And they don't like you to think of it that way. They like to think that the pawn must always run, that the pawn is weak, that the pawn is only to be sacrificed, that the pawn has no power. The pawn in this game, folks, not chess, the game of the world, you have the power to prepare food, have water, have shelter, have clothing, have medicine, have means of self-defense. You have the power to remove other pieces off the board as a pawn. Pawns can organize. That's right. They don't want us organizing, folks. That's what YouTube or Facebook or Twitter was all about. Only the powers that be didn't know we would organize so well, our side, and inform each other so that we are a cohesive group. Instead, they've tried splintering us on color or religion or race or ethnicity or wealth or living conditions, where you live. Well, you live over there and you must be a bad guy. You're in the South, you're in the North, you're in the East, you're in the West, you're in the mid. Right? They always try and say someone else is different than you, so therefore hate them. Well, fuck them. I'm not playing that game anymore. Right? Now I'm not going to allow myself to be arrested. Right there is my everyday carry. Every day. I don't plan on being surprised by anyone and taken off the board. See, they'll do that too. They'll use you to put pressure on people. They'll use you as a sacrifice, or they'll just knock you right off the board. Fuck you. Folks, it's up to you to decide how you're going to use your player, whether you're going to be the SmackDown or cause the SmackDown. I would rather cause it by waking people up and making us a powerful group of pawns. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Godspeed, Semper Fi.